My 90 years old grandma has lost her ability to speak and move after multiple strokes over the past 30 years. She now lives in a nursing home in Ganzhou, China, relying entirely on caregivers for daily life. In this video, we share her story, what life is like inside a Chinese nursing home, and the difficult decisions families must face when caring for elderly parents. We also want to hear from you. What are nursing homes like in your country? What would your family do in a situation like this? Let us know in the comments. This is Mao and Judy. We live in China and share our everyday life with the world. This is my grandma. She is almost 90 years old. About 30 years ago, she had her first stroke. Since then, she has spent 30 years of her life partially paralyzed. From that time on, she experienced stroke after stroke, fall after fall, again and again. My mother and her two sisters have been taking care of her daily life ever since her first stroke. They have done this for 30 years. At the beginning, the three sisters could take turns taking care of her with the help of a caregiver. They could barely manage, but as my grandma grew older, her health kept getting worse. At the same time, my mother and her sisters were also getting older. No one could continue taking care of an elderly person who could barely move at home anymore. Finally, 6 years ago, with persuasion and even a little deception, they managed to send my grandma to a nursing home. During the first 2 years after entering the nursing home, my grandma was very unwilling. She always wanted to go back home, but as time passed and her physical condition continued to get worse, the nursing home gradually became the only option. This nursing home is the largest one in Ganzhou. The entire facility has 7 or 8 buildings, including a medical building. Most of the elderly residents here are people who can barely take care of themselves. In China, most people believe that only when it becomes absolutely impossible to care for an elderly person at home will family members send them to a nursing home. Both the elderly and their children often see a nursing home as the final choice when there are no other solutions. In some places, people even think sending an elderly person to a nursing home is a sign of being unfilial or incapable. It represents that you no longer want to take care of the elderly person, or that you simply don't have the ability to do so. However, as modern society has more and more one-child families, this perception is gradually changing. Even now, although nursing homes in China play a role between a hospital and a family, they lean much more toward being a care-oriented medical facility. You can basically see this from the room arrangements. The rooms here look more like hospital wards rather than living spaces. My grandma lives in a room with other 4 people. It is almost exactly like a hospital ward, other than a bedside cabinet and a wardrobe. There are almost no personal belongings. There is a camera installed in the corner of the wall. This is their bathroom. Everywhere there are handrails designed to help elderly people. The elderly people in this room are old residents who cannot take care of themselves. Their main daily activity is being moved from the bed to a wheelchair by caregivers, and then being pushed to the hall to eat meals or watch television. In the middle of the hall, there is a reception desk and an area for watching TV. On both sides are two long dining tables. Along the sides of the hall are the rooms. The walls of the hall are filled with banners from families thanking the nursing home. They also list the services provided and the fees. For elderly residents like my grandma, the cost, including food, accommodation, and care, is 4,980 RMB per month. The government provides a subsidy of 800 RMB every month. So basically, the cost for my grandma to stay there is almost 4,000 RMB per month. If you add other treatments and additional services, the monthly cost is close to 5,000 RMB. For an ordinary family in a small city, this is actually a significant expense. Fortunately, my grandma has her own pension, so for my mother and her two sisters, they almost don't need to pay much themselves. However, even after moving into such a nursing home, her health condition has continued to decline. I still remember what she was like last year. Although she could hardly speak anymore, she could still communicate a little through hand movements and facial expressions. During last year's Chinese New Year, we could still push her in a wheelchair to a restaurant near the nursing home entrance to have a meal together. She could still participate in activities organized by the nursing home in the courtyard. When she saw us, she would smile, she would look happy, and she would greet us by waving her hand. She would even touch my face. That sunny afternoon during last year's New Year now feels like a luxurious memory. Over the past year, my grandma has had many illnesses, from colds to skin infections. Every time she got sick, it became a huge challenge. Although she managed to get through them, now she can only eat through a nasal feeding tube, and she has completely lost her ability to speak. Because she has been bedridden for such a long time, her hands and feet have become stiff. Only her left hand can occasionally move a little. The only parts of her body that can move more freely are her eyes and her neck. The most heartbreaking thing is that we cannot even determine whether she still recognizes us. Whenever we visit her, we always call out, Grandma.
你叫一下。
婆婆，
再叫。
婆婆，
你看到吗？
哎，
看到了，这一下一清醒了。对。再叫。
婆婆，
好像想起来什么，你再叫。想起来了，知道你在叫。
We try to get some kind of response from her, but all she can do is keep looking around, only for very brief moments. She will fix her gaze on us, as if she is trying to say something. She will try to move her hand a few times, but often, because of just these few movements, she exhausts all her strength and eventually closes her eyes and falls into a resting state. I believe she still recognizes me because it feels like she is always trying to say something, but simply cannot produce any sound. When she closed her eyes, I even saw a tear fall from her eye. We don't know whether that tear was caused by physical pain or by the frustration of being unable to speak, or by the sadness of seeing us but being unable to communicate. We have no way of knowing. We don't know how long she can continue holding on. We don't know whether she herself still wants to continue living like this. We don't know how much worse her condition might become next year, but we have no choice. What are nursing homes like where you live? When your loved ones face situations like this, what do people usually do? Please tell us in the comments. This is Mao and Judy. We live in China, and this is our everyday life here. Follow for more.